Hello, my name is Dr. Jessica Rowland, and I'm the director of Every Learner Everywhere. Every Learner is a network of 12 higher educational organizations with expertise in evaluating, implementing, scaling, and measuring the efficacy of digital learning and its integration into pedagogical practice. We are one of 3 solution networks that are sponsored by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and we work with colleges and universities to improve student outcomes using digital learning. Our mission is to help institutions use new technology to innovate teaching and learning with the ultimate goal of increasing student success for all students, but especially for first-generation college students, poverty-impacted students, and students of color. At the core of our mission is bringing equity to post-secondary learning because we know the stakes are high and that educational opportunity and economic success are intertwined. During the shift to remote learning, colleges and universities face unprecedented challenges in delivering quality, equity-focused digital education. The question now is, how do we turn this crisis into an opportunity to advance equity and inclusion in blended and online modalities? In January, our network launched the Every Learner Everywhere Expert Network, powered by ISTE, to offer professional learning and coaching to higher education faculty and leaders as they work to build engaging and inclusive digital learning environments for all students. Our experts are here to answer your questions. Questions like, what are tips for keeping my students engaged when teaching asynchronously? Or even, how can I effectively measure the impact of digital tools on student learning? The purpose of our one-on-one coaching sessions is to cultivate professional learning and practice around equity and digital learning during a time when we know that faculty need additional support. Please take the opportunity to ask those burning questions you may have about equitable teaching practices and how to foster student-centered learning experiences and cultivate a culture of inclusion in your classroom. Change starts with a conversation. Be sure to schedule your first conversation today. We also encourage you to visit our higher educational professionals through our booth here at South by Southwest EDU to find out more about our expert network and our other resources.
Hello, I'm Blaine Smith, and I'm an associate professor in the Department of Teaching, Learning, and Sociocultural Studies at the University of Arizona. I am a member of the Expert Network, and my areas of expertise include digital literacies and instructional strategies for integrating technology in culturally and linguistically diverse classrooms. My goal when meeting with faculty or academic staff as a coach with the Expert Network is to try to collaboratively problem solve your equity-focused questions. I first like to understand more about your unique instructional context and students. Next, through dialogue, I strive to offer instructional strategies based on research, best practices, and my own experience to meet your specific needs. I believe sessions are most productive when they are collaborative and we discuss different solutions and strategies together. We cannot assume that all students are digital natives or fluent in the technology necessary to succeed in online or blended environments. Relatedly, there are misconceptions that students have access to digital tools and the internet. Just to give you an example from my own classes this year, I've had students joining Zoom from parking lots where they get better internet access or expressing to me a wide range of difficulty with using different technology. So it's really important to realize that many students, particularly in rural and underserved communities, do not have access. Additionally, students might not have the requisite digital literacies underlying meaning-making in online environments. So we need to help them in effectively analyzing online information and being able to communicate through multiple modalities and digital formats. A main misconception about inequities in the digital classroom is that students today are digital natives and fluent with using a variety of technology for different purposes. Relatedly, there are misconceptions that students have access to digital tools and the internet. In reality, many students do not have the technological access or digital literacies needed to succeed with online learning. To address these misconceptions, it's helpful for educators to conduct a survey at the beginning of the course to gain an understanding of students' access and comfort with using different programs. It's also very important to scaffold students' processes along the way with using technology, which includes providing explicit instruction on the tools, offering a variety of resources, showing various models, providing flexibility, and designing collaborative projects where students can learn from one another along the way. Faculty can expand inclusive teaching practices by implementing culturally responsive instruction, where students' cultural and linguistic identities are positioned at the core of the learning process, as well as leveraging students' knowledge and experiences in the classroom. Some ways faculty can do this is by offering meaningful opportunities for students to express themselves through digital projects and connect content to their lives and communities, as well as creating an inclusive online community where students feel comfortable to share their experiences. Schedule a one-on-one coaching session with a member of the expert network today.
My name is Chandni Patel, and I'm the Director for Global Diversity Education at New York University. I'm a member of the Expert Network, and my areas of expertise include diversity, anti-racism, and inclusive teaching practices, course and curricular design, faculty development support, and strategic planning. My goal when meeting with faculty or academic staff as a coach with the Expert Network is to help them understand that they are not alone. A lot of the challenges that faculty and academic staff bring to me are not unique to their particular discipline or institutional context, but rather global questions that we're asking throughout the landscape of higher education. Of course, that doesn't mean that their individual concerns are not important, right? Folks do have specific questions about their classrooms and strategies that they're trying, but there's a ton of evidence out there, and my goal as a coach is to connect them with those resources and to guide them through the choices that they have. Now that we're about 1 year into the pandemic, there are definitely common themes and patterns that I have noticed in my work with faculty members. Many folks are expressing that they're just absolutely exhausted, right? We have been in this situation where we have been socially distancing from each other. Faculty have had a tremendous lift in terms of translating their face-to-face and synchronous classes to an online environment. And even for those who are already teaching in the online space, contending with a pandemic and students burnout is also challenging and continues to be challenging. So faculty are telling me that they're burnt out, that they're exhausted, but many of them are also hopeful, right? There's a new semester that they're engaging in conversations with their students and figuring out new strategies and leaning into their discomfort and building on the flexibility that they have already implemented with the fall semester and last spring semester as well. So definitely I'm hearing a lot of burnout and exhaustion, coupled with some hope and optimism that there's an end in sight, but also that the strategies that faculty have developed that center equity in their teaching and learning environments will be strategies they can bring back to their face-to-face and synchronous environments or continue to build on in whatever format they continue to teach in. sometimes faculty feel that when they're asked to engage in equity work or to center equity in their classrooms, it's an additional burden placed on them on top of, the curriculum design and pedagogical choices that they already have to make. My advice to them would be that if we don't center our students' needs when it comes to equity and inclusion, if we're not attentive to those disparate needs that our students are bringing to the classroom space, we are going to encounter more work right down the road potentially. So if we work to center our students' needs from the beginning, then we'll have less of those bottlenecks, midway through the semester when we recognize that some of our students are struggling, or that we need to review some content, or review some problems with them that they haven't been able to complete up until that point, right? So if we really think about, what are my students' needs? Who are they as learners right from the beginning? Well, not only are we supporting their success in the classroom and their ability to thrive, but we are also creating a situation where there's regular feedback loops so that we're not running into problems kind of clustering together at midway points in the semester or later into the semester as well. I've heard some misconceptions or incorrect assumptions that maybe faculty hold regarding inequities in the digital classroom. So I'll give two examples. One of them is that students don't want to connect, right? Their video cameras are off, or they just simply don't want to show up for class. And I've heard from students that that's just not the case. Their classrooms can really be a space where they feel like they have community and where they're creating connections with their peers. But only if those conditions are created by the faculty member, right? Only if they feel like they're in a space where they really can connect with their peers across their differences and are able to get to know each other in that way, right? So that is definitely one misconception. I think the other misconception that I've heard around inequities in the classroom is that it's on the student to disclose to the faculty member the particular challenges that they're feeling. And for a whole host of reasons, many of our students simply don't feel comfortable going to their faculty members and saying, hey, you know what? This week I don't have enough money to feed myself, and so I can't participate. I'm not going to be able to learn the best way possible, or I'm struggling this week because of family needs that are taking priority, right? So it is on us as faculty members to continue to check in with our students and to not make them feel like there's a burden for them to disclose, right? We don't need to pry into their lives, but we do need to know what support they might need from us in order to prioritize their learning in the classroom spaces that we're in with them, that we're sharing with them. Schedule a one-on-one coaching session with a member of the expert network today.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sharice McBride, and I'm an educational researcher at the University of California, Berkeley. I'm also an expert with the Expert Network, and my areas of research and practice are digital literacies, pedagogy, and teacher education. When I consult with faculty, staff, and instructional designers, I really think of our sessions as a time for thought partnership. And I love to hear questions and get a sense of the needs of the folks that I talk to. And my goal is really to identify and build on what's working and to expand how and where we can capture the brilliance and the strength of our students. I understand that this work invites tons of questions, and I really embrace this as an opportunity for us to figure it out together. I also look at digital equity and digital divides as issues of justice. And it's from that center that I also invite us to really question and really challenge the notion of digital natives. our students as digital natives, I think really prevents us from thinking about not only have they grown up using technology, but they continue to need ways to learn and expand their repertoires of practice with technology. And so in our role as educators, there's plenty of opportunities to continue learning together with our students. And so in these ways, I seek to embrace a humanizing approach to digital pedagogy. And with that, I encourage for you to schedule a one-on-one coaching session with a member of the Expert Network today.
My name is Elaine Bienvernal, and I am a lecturer for the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry at California State University, Long Beach. I am a member of the Expert Network, and my areas of expertise include instructional technology, faculty professional development, and engaging general audiences with STEM education. My goal when meeting with faculty or academic staff as a coach with an expert network is to develop active learning strategies that engage learners of all backgrounds in STEM. I love being able to talk to educators about how to create connections with their students and really contextualize learning and bring science and engineering to life. What I found is that it's especially important to engage our non-traditional students by connecting scientific concepts to important issues of our time, like climate change and environmental justice, especially as it relates to the communities that they are from. From my experience, it's so rewarding to see students who thought of themselves as, I'm not a science person, or I just don't do math, not only do well in summative assessments, but also giving feedback on how they see something like chemistry in their daily life, and that it wasn't as hard to understand as they thought. I look forward to working with you, so schedule a one-on-one coaching session with a member of the Expert Network today.
My name is Crystal Moore Clemens, and I am the National Director of the Children's Defense Fund Freedom Schools program with the Children's Defense Fund. I am a member of the Expert Network, and my areas of expertise include critical race theory in education, culturally responsive pedagogy, distance learning and online pedagogy, educational leadership, and multicultural education. My goal when meeting with faculty or academic staff as a coach with the Expert Network is to really make people feel comfortable talking about issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion in course design and delivery. I prefer working with people in a one-on-one setting or small group setting. I like to get an understanding of goals and work on a plan to reach those goals in a virtual or remote learning environment. Culturally responsive teaching is important because no one is void of culture, and all educational experiences should make people feel safe, respected, and recognized. Ladson Billings reminds us that culturally responsive pedagogy recognizes the importance of including students' cultural references in all aspects of learning. So the benefits of these strategies communicates high expectations, it's student-centered, and it moves us as teachers to the role of facilitator, where students and teachers can learn from one another. The shift to remote learning has definitely created challenges to deliver high-quality, equity-focused education. Some strategies faculty can consider in their course design or delivery and pedagogical practices that can help address long-standing issues of inequities would first to be present, right? So in the course site, be present, try to create a sense of community. This can be done with a variety of things: office hours, FaceTime, Zoom, phone calls, even text messages or some sort of chat. Another thing is to create a sense of clear expectations about the workload, the assignments, etc. And finally, use synchronous and asynchronous activities to support students who have varying levels of bandwidth. In conjunction with that, give students options for large group or small group or individual work assignments to satisfy course objectives. To demonstrate differentiated instruction leads to equitable outcomes, consider using synchronous and asynchronous activities to support students who have varying levels of bandwidth. In conjunction with that, give students options for large group or small group assignments to support course objectives. And the main thing is to remain present. Create a learning environment that's organized so students know that they have deliverables due at a certain deadline and that you're available to provide feedback or further explanation if necessary. Schedule a one-on-one coaching session with a member of the expert network today.
Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Tazeen Daniels, and I'm an Assistant Director at the Center for Research on Learning and Teaching at the University of Michigan. I am a member of the Expert Network, and my areas of expertise include inclusive teaching and online teaching. My goal when I meet with clients through the Every Learner Everywhere network is to help them identify what their own goals are in terms of advancing equitable online education in whatever their context is. I often ask my clients up front what their goals are for the session so we can make the most out of our 45 minutes together. Oftentimes that requires clarifying expectations, really sorting through priorities, and figuring out what's the best way that I can help them. When I speak with clients about the challenges or questions that they have now that we're 1 year into the pandemic, I think there are a few themes that emerge across those consultations. I think one is just an acknowledgement of the really large cognitive, emotional, and oftentimes physical and financial toll that the pandemic has taken on their day-to-day work. And so a lot of times we end up talking about strategies to mitigate and to deal with feelings of burnout. What is the best way to replenish your resources, whether those are cognitive or emotional, and how do you really have a sustainable approach to improving education in your classroom and in your institutions. So beyond that, I think a second trend that I've seen is really concerns and commitment to improving engagement, motivation and retention among students. So a lot of times in consultations, we'll talk about what are the best kinds of tools or strategies to keep students engaged, to help them build a sense of community, a sense of belonging in the classroom space, as well as really making sure that we don't lose anyone throughout the semester and that everybody stays as engaged and benefits as much as possible from the classroom experience. I would say that equity work is work. It requires a lot of self-reflection and self-awareness that maybe folks have done in the past when we're in face-to-face, but now in an online context they have to do that translation. Or maybe this is the very first time they're thinking deliberately about how to make a space equitable. What I would say is that although it is work, it is important work. It's a lot of thinking that has to be done up front in terms of how you set up classrooms, the types of decisions you make around technology, but most importantly around setting up reasonable expectations. We know that the pandemic is taking lots of tolls on different people, and frankly, those tolls are inequitable. Students who hold minoritized identities, including students of color, students from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, they are disproportionately affected by the pandemic. And so I think part of our responsibility as instructors is to be open with our lines of communication, be flexible with our lessons plans and our expectations, and also to collect regular feedback from students so that we know that we are reaching and hitting the right targets. It doesn't mean that it's going to be easy, but I think in the long run, these are the kinds of practices that are going to help us maintain persistence from these students throughout the pandemic. So I think one of the most common misconceptions is that students are digital natives. So assuming that they understand kind of the rules and expectations and etiquette when it comes to online learning, I think we really do have to do our due diligence to set up certain expectations and guidelines for the best ways to engage in spaces. And also in terms of access, making sure that students have the tools, things like computers, proper high-speed internet, proper bandwidth, those kinds of things to be able to participate in the classroom. Probably another misconception is that higher education is immune from things like inequities that are common in other parts of social life, and that everybody's on a level playing field. And sometimes it can feel like that, especially when you are in a Zoom classroom and everybody looks the same in their little squares. But I think it's important to remember that inequities are not always visible. And so again, really getting to know your students, building communication pathways for them to be able to share what their limitations are and what kind of supports they might need to be successful, I think are really important when trying to create an equitable online space. Schedule a one-on-one coaching session with a member of the expert network today.